What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Reacher. My name is Adam Vale. I'm a senior editor at the Koalition.
And I am Lawrence, aka a punk with toys on all the social media platforms. I don't know why I do platforms that I've never done that in my entire life. I don't think.
Oh man, a lot going on, people. A lot going on. But real quick before I forget, thank you all. Thank you all for viewing and watching, and whether on YouTube and iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, you name it. Everyone, the numbers are coming in. People are interested. There's comments, there's engagement, there's just a lot. And we appreciate it because this was, like I said in the first episode, an idea. It's like, hey, Lawrence, you want to do this? Yeah, let's do it. And here we are. And it's good to know that we're not the only ones that are enjoying this show, Reacher. You know, there's thousands of you guys out there and gals that love this show, and we love it, and we love talking about it. So thank you all.
Yes, but the only thing you guys are missing is hitting that like button.
Yeah.
Even if you don't comment, all you gotta do is hit the little like button. It really does help out more than you might realize, because that is the only way YouTube knows that people are actually watching it and actually are enjoying it.
Yeah, that is true. All right. So, yeah, again, thank you for everyone that put in some comments about this. Also, thank you to my cousin Sybil, right, who lives out in Florida. She was like, I love Reacher. And I'm like, oh, I got something for you. And she was wowed by it. So thank you, Sybil, for the support. Thanks, everyone. So yeah, let's get into this. This is season 3, episode 6, Smoke on the Water. And we start right off from where we left, which is at the warehouse with the guns. Quinn is there. Reacher is there with his gun in his back, getting ready because this is it.
How does no one see him doing that?
It's TV land. It's
an awkward position to have your arm like that. Again,
he's got an itch, Lawrence. He's got an itch in the lower back. He had the scratch.
So anyone that's new here, we have to ignore time in this. We have to ignore space and how long it takes to get places, because it just doesn't make sense. And we talk about this while we're watching this together. There's some things that we're just like, what? But we have to remind each other.
It's a show.
Yes.
It's TV. It's not, and we brought it up, I think, in the last episode, one before. It's not 24. 24, they have to stick to the timeline. It's in the show title. This, not so much. Just put your disbelief. It's nighttime. It could be from 12 to 6 in the morning. Who knows? You know, but the big question we were all left with, from like the cliffhanger, was, is Quinn going to recognize Reacher? Right? This is it.
Yeah.
We weren't sure. And we got our answer within the first, not even first minute, within like 30 seconds.
Yeah, we see all these guys, but they're all arming the guns. I don't gun run. Okay. Full disclosure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine.
But they're all loading the guns. Do you ship guns fully loaded? I mean, I don't know if anyone is a gun runner.
Yeah, exactly. They probably won't comment. Do it on a burner account on YouTube or something.
If you're in the military, do you ship the guns that are loaded? I don't believe you do.
I don't think that would be safe. It just doesn't seem safe.
That's exactly it.
Now, we could, to play devil's advocate, they did mention that they hired a bunch of mechanics and people that know how to handle weapons, so that way they could assemble. Yeah. So maybe that was it. They come in parts. Then they do the assembly in the factory, in the warehouse, and maybe they check to make sure the magazine snaps in place and all that. And then when the camera cuts, they take the magazine out and they put it in another box. So that's how I would think. But the big part here is that when Quinn is mouthing off to Beck about could you hire an ATF agent to clean your house?
Yeah, who hires an ATF agent to hire,
to clean the house?
Mm-hmm. He's railing. I gotta say, this actor that plays Quinn, what's his name? Where is it at here? Brian T. He does a wonderful job of the way he berates. I think he's a great actor.
He's great at delivering his lines. Yeah, very convincing. Very convincing.
I wouldn't think twice that this guy is in charge. Like he commands the room.
Mm-hmm. That he does. But what he doesn't command is his memory because he has no
Yeah.
recollection or remembrance of Reacher. He looks right at him and he's like, "What's your name?" He's like,
And he gives him his name, and you
he says it.
Yep.
And he
Well, he
pauses.
can't lie about it because he gave him their real name. Like, yeah, why did he go into this with his real name?
That's just the way he is. Why doesn't he sneak? Well, it's just Reacher. It's how he rolls. Real name, no sneaking, same clothes. You know, he puts extra clips where I don't know, but as we saw later on, we'll discuss. He reloaded. Where'd you get the clip? I don't know.
Well,
But,
wait, before you go in, it is a magazine.
oh, my bad.
The wrong person is going to hear clip, and they will just lose
That's
it. Believe me, I learned from doing toy reviews, talking about G.I. Joe figures. They're magazines. People will lose their minds.
Sorry.
You call it the wrong thing.
No, I know. There's some people. Oh, man. But, yeah, so we find out Quinn looks straight at him. Nope. That's great. Well, you're the one that figured this whole thing out. And, okay, you figured out the whole thing with Angel and stuff. So now they're going to do the backtracking. They want to find out if there are any more holes and worms in the system and what's going on. But this is the part that gets me, is that how is this possible that Quinn has amnesia, but yet he still knows how to perform his gun running operation and all these other.
I've been trying to figure that one out also because it doesn't make sense. And I know we have to have this sense of disbelief, but that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Like, so he gets shot, and the only thing he doesn't remember is the guy that shot him in the face. I feel like that's the thing I would remember.
Or it would trigger, but still, even when amnesia, unless if it's a real thing, selective amnesia. That's what I can think of. It's just selective because he remembers all these other things. He remembers how
He has a
to
different
talk.
name. He has a different name and everything.
But that's the thing. He has a different name. So that means he had to remember his old name. Wait, he just woke up and said, "My name is McCabe." He just picked that out of nowhere. Maybe they'll bring it up and explain it later on. But as of right now, right now we don't know.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of things that go unexplained when this is all done.
Maybe, but we also know that McCabe isn't the final boss. You know, he is working for the Russian mob. We see there's a red dress in the background, and it's like, what's the dress for?
So we got Susan and Billy watching. No, it's the only car that within miles, and no one's like, "Hey, up there, that car that's just sitting there. Why don't one of you guys go up and check it out?" But so we see these cars pull up, and there's a warehouse full of weapons. And I said to you, this guy just lays on the horn.
Oh, man, that is just...
Yeah.
Oh, man, that made no sense.
Someone to like come up and be like, "Hey, what's going on here?"
Yeah, and that's, again, we got to think they're deep in the woods in Maine. That's all that we could really think of it. Because then the driver must know, if he lays on the horn like this, that no one's going to approach, no one's going to call, no one's going to scream like, "Hey, what's with the horn?"
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, they walk out. Quinn tells them, "Nobody pull your guns unless if I pull mine." And he hands them, he hands the Russian mob boss money, and I think he says that's the interest, no principal, or maybe vice versa. I forget what he says exactly.
Yeah, they didn't get the full shipment. They don't have all the money. Yeah.
And he says, "There's not going to be any more delays, I promise." And pretty much the Russian pretty much threatens this guy. But we see that Quinn is scared of this guy. He is sincerely scared of this guy because it's the Russian mob.
And even that guy is not really the boss because he says, "You shouldn't be fearful of me." It's the bigger boss who we still haven't seen yet then. But this is it. Now we know at least most of the pieces. And then we find out once that scene's over and Beck and Reacher are heading back to the mansion, Beck just spills everything, right? Reacher pretty much puts it together, but it's like, you were always a gun runner, but then Quinn came in and took over your operation. And how did he do that? Well, he needed funding. He got the funding from the Russian mob. Russian mob now wants their cut, their money, whatever. But there was some issues with the transport in the Russian seas, bad weather, right?
Yeah,
that's
bad
what
weather. Yeah, bad weather. It's basically a hostile takeover. That's how Quinn ended up. But how does Quinn get this? Like,
you have to know people, and you have to remember things.
well, that's it. He gets shot. Now again, he gets shot. All that stuff happens before we even see the first episode, the first season of Reacher. So I guess there is time, for him to rebuild up his organization, or it's just not his memory. So
yeah,
it's weird.
It throws in the whole wrench of like what does he remember, what he doesn't remember, the fact that he can remember this much of his past. But this is where it connects with Powell. Now Powell.
Well, quickly, I guess we forgot to say, Susan, as they're watching, she sees the dress, and Reacher's ready to fight his way out. This is before they see the mob boss, and he sees the dress, and this is when he realizes that Teresa, who I'm really getting tired of hearing about, I'm tired of Susan whining and crying about Teresa, that she's still alive. So this causes Reacher to completely change what's going to be his course of action.
Yeah, because she's a gift. That was the other part of it, right? That's what the whole red dress. Oh, he has the big boss has a thing for redheads, so he's going to put the red dress the red dress on, and and so Duffy and Billy decide to go to town to find the person, the talk to the person who created the dress. I guess the dress store. I missed that.
I'm not sure that was explained all that well, because I also maybe there's only one dress. I mean, this is really. I mean, I feel like if there's this big of an organization going on, there should be a bigger town. This is like truly like some town in the middle of like some southern state where there's nothing around.
It triggered A-Team vibes when I watched A-Team episodes where everything happened right at one town, all this chaos, shooting and gunfire, and it's like, where's the help? Oh well, we're in this small town, population 50, and we have one sheriff, and so no one cares what happens here, and that's what I get.
Yeah, so they end up going to this dress store. Billy shows his badge. Now they don't pay for anything. Or they paid all cash, but he did have a number, which comes back. It sounds like they think it's a burner, but that's the only thing they have to go on.
But weird. On the other side, McCabe's people, they're finding a lot more info. So they had people on the inside that found out about the call that Reacher made and about Powell, who picked up the call over at the 110, who ran the plates. And they're like, all right, we're going to go pay him a visit, and they torch him. I'm assuming he's dead. Right, we could assume that.
So what we get is Powell doesn't live on base. His neighbor knocks at the door. So there's an old guy, and then there's these two assassins. They kill him. They basically beat the crap out of Powell, but he's not going to give anything up.
Yeah.
And then we go to Neagley.
Yep. So they tracked her.
Yeah, we see Neagley. Now she's in Chicago, nowhere near where Maine is, and we see these two assassins just riding up the elevator. Of course, nobody else is in this Chicago building. That's very realistic, also.
Yes.
And of course, she's making coffee. She has it in the microwave, and she's did Reacher call her?
No, so she puts in the coffee. She presses the button, and it's warming it up, and then all of a sudden she hears the door open. Right, she hears the elevator because it's at the office, and she knows something's up. So then she goes and takes cover. She hides, and sure enough, these people walk around. They're showing guns. The microwave goes off, beeping. It's ready now. They know someone's there, and she starts fighting with one of them. Then she takes off. They start shooting at her. She takes cover. She grabs her gun. She fires back. She's a really good shot.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait there. They hear it. She kind of runs, and she's hiding. Now she logs into a computer, and I got to address this.
Yes.
She logs in. She sends a print job. Now I fix copiers for a living. I don't fix this brand. I could tell that it's not the brand that I service, and it starts printing. Now they do make noise, and yes, there's no one else in there, but these things are pretty quiet. So for the fact that they could hear it, I was, again, this is something when you're in an industry, you're like, really? I might have heard it because I hear this stuff, but there's times that I don't hear stuff in an office. And again, it is completely quiet, but it leads the story.
Unless it's a fax. I like incoming faxes.
Yeah, I love how we're like, we really like this show. Now let's completely tear it apart.
Exactly. I was like, we're gonna nitpick every little thing. What clip? No magazine. No, but that's the whole.
Hey, I just want to stop anything that any comments that might happen.
I got you.
I learned firsthand.
Oh man.
But
So,
yeah,
but it was a distraction. It was great because it
yep.
got their attention. That gave her time to do that cool dive. I wonder how many takes it took because she did a pretty good dive, and I'm sure it
Yep.
took multiple takes to get that dive to cover.
Yeah, these guys are firing multiple shots at her. They completely miss her.
Mhm.
She dives over, pulls her gun out, and kills one instantly.
Yeah. Yep. Then she goes over to the side. She gets another magazine, right? Magazine, right?
Good job.
Blocks.
See,
Yep.
we're learning.
Yeah, we're learning. That's it. Right. Fires a few more shots. Everything goes quiet. Okay. Is it done? Yeah, it's done. At least for one, nice big hole in him. The other one, this is the comic relief of
I
this
love this
episode.
part. I
Yeah.
love this part.
Yeah, this is great. The guy's bleeding to death. He looks at me. He's like, call an ambulance.
And he's sitting up against the refrigerator. She goes into the she pulls her coffee out of the microwave, tells him to move. He's like 911.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't want me to move you. So he moves himself, which I think is hilarious.
Oh man.
She gets out, she's asking all the questions.
She was eating cereal too. That's the other thing I noticed. First it was the coffee, and she's like eating
cereal. And so here he is. He's pretty much spilling everything.
Yeah.
He's like, call me an ambulance. And she's
like, who sent you? Yeah.
She says, you're an ambulance.
Yeah, that was him. He's like, who sent you? What were you supposed to do here? Oh, we're supposed to take it. This. So pretty much kill her, and he's so quiet. It's like, oh,
yeah. And he's supposed to, they tracked it back down to some, to some low level guy, at the 110th.
Talks about Angel. I don't think she knows, and then that's when she puts two and two together. When she mentioned the low level guy 110, she calls Reacher. He picks up, and she fills him in. It's like, hey, goons came to kill me. What's going on? And then he's like, wow, all right, that was quick. So then that means that they're trying to clean up if they're willing to backtrack. So that means everyone's in danger. So he puts two and two together and then reaches out to Powell. But go ahead if you want to finish the rest of what happened with Francis with this one.
This guy's sitting there and it's just a job, whatever. And he's like, call me an ambulance. And she's like, fine if you're going to keep whining. Like the guy's bleeding out, and so she finally calls, and it was really weird. Like she's just like, he's taking one or two to the abdomen, and maybe a couple others somewhere else. And she's like, "There, I called you. Good thing they'll be here in 5 minutes, but you'll be dead in 1 minute." Mm-hmm. Which I was like,
now I thought that was going to end different.
Yeah, I like her dry sense of humor because it's really good. Because she has more animation in her in her looks and everything than Reacher.
Yeah, definitely. But also, I thought it was going to end differently. I thought she was like, all right, I'll call. Yeah, I just found 2 dead bodies, and then point out. It's like, what? It's like, here we go. Let's finish it. But no, she just let him bleed out and die.
But what is her job there? That there's going to be all these.
If you remember from the first season when we were introduced to her, she left once the 110 was disbanded. She became a private contractor and was very successful at it, and has her own team of people that she would dispatch and do all this stuff.
All right, so this is So this is her company. So
yeah.
It was gonna be hard to explain to the cleaning people when they show up.
I would think if you're running that operation, you don't have a cleaning crew or anyone come over, because you don't know if one of your guys leaves a magazine laying around or some guns or some other stuff. I mean, this is their job. They do their what you would see at the back pages of Soldier of Fortune magazine. It's like, oh, hire these people. Who knows? She would have her own group of A-team type of people that go out there and do missions. And as we know, we've talked about this before. It's been confirmed. She does. Amazon are doing a spinoff. All based off with her. So it might not just be a one-man army of Francis. She might have her own unit that they introduce. I'm all for that
Well,
too.
I mean, you're looking at that big office. It's not like she has some little
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an office in one of the high rises in
Mhm.
Chicago. So it's
Yeah.
clearly
There was multiple desks. Yeah, it's not like a private
yeah.
law firm or something like that where you would just see like a bookcase and then one desk. No,
Yeah.
there clearly she has a staff. So, oh man. But what's up next after this?
Well,
Oh no, the Reacher with Powell. Yes.
yeah. So now, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll just jump into it. So then, right. So Reacher now calls the 110, right? And he calls in and he's like, "Yeah, I'm looking for Powell." It's like, "Oh, we're looking for him too." The person that picks up, he didn't show up. And is this Reacher replies, "Is this out of character?" And then she was like, "Actually, yeah, he doesn't really do that type of stuff." It's like, "All right, you need to send someone to, go get him." It's like, "Well, that's when we found out that he lives off base."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Who is this?" And he's like, "This is Reacher," and her eyes like, "Oh!" It's like she wants to gush over this whole thing too, but he doesn't have time for it. He's like, "Send some people that are armed to his home
Yeah.
now, because this is
And
it."
we don't see any more on it.
No,
So we
and
don't and we don't know the full time frame of how things are happening, because we know in like TV shows and movies sometimes something's happening either at the same time, or sometimes it's
yeah.
happened before, or sometimes it's happened after, yet they show it before.
Yeah, it's the timing of when things are cut and when they're done. Because yes, we know about Reacher making the call and doing all this stuff, but then, like you said, with the timeline, we don't know with the goons that are torturing Powell.
Yeah.
Is that in real time during the call, or was that prior to the call, or is it after? It's like we don't know. But all we do know is that when during that interrogation with the goons and they were asking questions, he's not answering. They tell Quinn. Quinn was like, "You know what? I know when a soldier's not going to answer any questions. I want you to gut him, like a fish, pretty much from point to the point." And he'd be like, "Hey, we could just put a bullet in." He's like, "What's the fun in that?" So
And that's kind of what makes me think like he's gonna survive, because what you're looking at, like if they put a bullet in, boom, they're done. He wants to torture him. So is there a time lapse that these soldiers are going to? Because if he's telling you to send armed soldiers over, they're not sending some desk clerks over.
Yeah, they're not. It's going to be interesting, because even with the goons that went to Chicago, that's a trip. And if you make that phone call, all right, again within hours, I'm assuming those people were already there. They're
Yes.
not people that were in the warehouse of like, all right, we're going to catch a flight. Even if you flew there, you wouldn't be there in that amount of time.
Nope. You're absolutely right.
So there goes that. But once Reacher is also still back at the mansion, he takes a walk down to look over at the wide ocean that he swam back in episode 3. And he sees Richard, and he's like, "Oh, Richard, you gonna go for a swim too?" No, he doesn't say that, but he just starts talking to him. He's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just reflecting on life." And they have their little heart to heart. So Richard tries to say, "Hey, don't worry. Let's fix up that gun, for your dad's birthday."
Well,
So
because as soon as he got back, he called Susan, Duffy, whatever, to meet him. And this is his way to get out there to meet her, so they can discuss things.
Yeah. He's like, "Come on, and we'll go and we'll fix that gun for your dad's birthday. Everything will be great." So they go to Main Street. We'll call it Main Street, USA, Springfield. Remember, it's like it could be anything. But once they get there, I guess he sends the kid to go into the shop, and then he goes into the alleyway to meet Duffy. He exchanges information, what he knows, what's going on. They're freaking out. And then this is where the weird moment happens. Duffy just grabs him and starts kissing him.
Well, she's like turned on because he saw that Teresa's still alive, and rather than his vendetta against Quinn, he knows that she is looking for Teresa, and clearly she's still alive. And then she kisses him.
He's kissing him, but it's the after part that's the weird. She's like, "That's it. I can't. Hey, I can't do this. I can't have another relationship with someone on the job." And he's like, "You kissed me. What are you talking about?"
This is not going to happen. This is not going to happen a second time. And he's like, exactly. I didn't know it was going to happen the first time.
Exactly. It's like going on. It was funny, but then all of a sudden, Billy shows up behind her, and he's like, "Why'd you bring him?" It's like, "Hey, oh, nice seeing you too, Reacher. What's the problem? What? So he's here. No, I told you can't bring him. No, you." And they could figure it out. But then also perfect timing. Richard is done fixing the gun, whatever, and he shows up and like, "Hey, is that the guy who shot?"
Isn't the cop you shot?
Yeah, it's like,
Which I don't. I mean, there was so much going on. I doubt he would remember.
Yeah, I don't think
whatever.
yeah, because it was so quick. A lot, like you said. Plus, he was all dressed. I don't know, but long story short, that's it. It cat's out the bag. So then Reacher, they go to another location. He pulls him out the car and spills everything. Also, being real
You
honest.
forgot that Richard's like locking the door. He's trying to keep Richard from opening.
Yeah, he's like that's gonna help.
That was funny.
Hey, to Richard's point, he didn't see what we saw last episode of Reacher flipping over a car.
Yeah.
So if anything, Reacher was like, "All right, don't come out. I'll just keep rolling this like a donut until you pop out." Just flip it upside down. But he pulls the kid out. The kid's freaking out. He's like, "Oh, you lied to me," and he's like, "No. Everything I said, my background, that's all true. I just didn't tell you everything." And then he comes clean. Says, "Hey, those are agents. This is what's going on. We're investigating, doing stuff. I'm looking for someone." Mentions Teresa. Hey, this answers a part of yours. Your theory was that there was some connection between Richard and Teresa. No connection, because
nothing at all.
this would have been the time where he's like, "Oh, you found Teresa?" That's what I was expecting. Well, we didn't get that.
See, I was convinced that somewhere along the line, Teresa, who was like getting cleaned up, had met Richard, and that's the reason why she was taken. But nope, nothing at all.
Yeah. And real quick, because I don't know if we mentioned the reason why Quinn didn't kill Teresa like they've been killing everyone else is because of how she looks, and they know that this is something that their big boss would want.
The buyer.
Yeah, they're the higher.
The buyer likes redheads.
Yeah, the buyer likes redheads, so that's the only reason why she's alive. Parents. But now we know. And then he tells the kid, Richard, he's like, "Hey, that's it. You got to keep quiet." And he's like, "Well, I will. Maybe I won't." I was like, "Don't even play with me that way," because not so many words, but he could end them quick. And that's, again, if I was Richard in that situation, I wouldn't even give a doubt to this big, massive man in front of me that I could double cross him. I'm sorry. I would be like, "Yes, yeah, all right." Hey, you. I mean, he has a valid point. He's like, "Well, what about my dad? What's going to happen to my dad?"
Is he going to go to jail?
Yeah, he's going to go to jail. He's like, he's a bad man. He's working with bad people. He's doing all these bad things.
And it all goes back to Richard still loves his dad. He still does not want to see his dad in trouble. Even though all the stuff, losing an ear and everything, he has this soft spot, obviously, for his dad, which, let's be honest, is his dad, so it makes sense.
Hey, he still, remember, even in that interaction, he was in still disbelief that his dad knew anything about Teresa.
Yeah. They get back to the house. They go in through the back, and we see Beck talking with Agnes. She picked up the suits because it's a black tie event, so they're tuxedos. And then when Richard and Reacher come in, Richard's kind of acting weird, and Beck kind of drills him and says, "We ran into those guys again." And
the weird part of this, and this is, again, TV land, because nobody, just put yourself in that kid's situation. Once you walk in and your dad says, "Is anything wrong?" Nope, anything wrong. Just walk away. No, he stops, pauses, and turns his head and looks right at Reacher and looks back at his dad. And I was like, those goons showed up again, but Reacher took care of it. I get that's all done for TV. There's no way in real life you would go through all that, especially after what this kid just witnessed and all this stuff. Just brush it off. We have kids. We know when kids don't want to talk, they could just say, "No, everything is fine," and walk off to their room. So he could have easily done that, but they wanted to build that moment.
Yeah, but then we see Beck clearly getting aggravated with Reacher, about the connection that he has with his son. And he says, "I didn't see you in the delivery room." He said, "What?" He goes, "I didn't see you in the delivery room. You're acting more like his father. This is for me to, take care of." And he said, "You hired me to protect him."
Yeah.
And protect you.
That was so dumb. That whole scene could have been cut. There was no need for that. That dialogue from Beck made no sense.
It made no sense because Beck was like saying, like, most people that have your job take a bullet. Just when is your time? Like, wait, first off, you may have all this power, but this guy could crush you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you're not holding a gun to his head. Like this guy could crush you right now. And then you're saying like people in your people with that job title usually take a bullet just when. Like, well,
Well,
I
we
think you
know
gotta be
when for
killing someone
Duke.
less.
Duke had his win a few episodes back, and again, this was out of character for Beck to deliver these lines, especially with everything that's going on. Because now he's reliant on Reacher for everything. So I don't see this. This scene didn't make sense. It didn't make sense for him to
Yeah.
come out like Mister. Yeah, I'm the boss. I'm really because Quinn is going to kill all of us. You're not the boss. He's going to put you down if things don't go to plan. So that didn't make any sense.
No, I'm with you. I agree completely. Actually, this actually happened. I'm looking at my notes. This happened before the assassinations. Of
It's
the
it all.
assassination attempts.
There was so much going on in this
Yes.
episode. But the part that will have people talking and be like, wow, this is what we were waiting for. Because there's some people in the comments talked about, oh, I like season 1, season 2. This has like a slow burn toward
I've had
things.
a
And
few people say they didn't like season 2, and I'm like,
then I don't know. They weren't watching the same one because that season
that's what I
2
said.
set that bar so high. That was such a fantastic the storytelling, just the backstory for everybody and how they were all getting picked off, in the unit. Oh, that was so good, so good. But this is it. This was the big action
Yeah.
moment, right? Everything happened here. A lot of set pieces. So Reacher's up in his room. Quinn shows up, and he interacts with Beck in the house, and he's like, "All right, this is it. We found out who did you piss off over in the government because the government's involved, and they were doing all this digging into our affairs." And he's like, "What do you mean the 110? We found these 2 people that connected to the 110." And he's like, Reacher was in the 110. And it's like, get him, we're gonna kill him now. Yeah, he's up in his room, and then sure enough, they go up and like a cat, the man is out the window and gone.
Yes.
No one hears the 6'3" man, heavy, almost 300 pounds, like stomping on the roof. Boom, 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 boom. Come on, man. I hear my cat whenever that thing runs around. There's no way.
But here's this is what's the most disbelief part of it is that Paulie sees him running across the lawn, and we already know that when you walk across the lawn, you're just invisible.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the first time. I mean, we see a lot of running that would make Tom Cruise happy to see.
Yes.
Like, well, thank you.
And Tom Cruise is probably watching this, going, "I was Reacher. Look at all this running.
Exactly.
I could have done this again."
Yeah, and you know what? I could have done it with no cuts, just one big drone tracking shot of me just sprinting, because that's what he loves to do to prove that he is running. No hate on the man. He's like in his 60s. Oh, that's fantastic that he could still run that. But yeah, well, we get to that point. So he runs, he gets to the barn area, gets in the truck, and he takes out, he says the doors, he rams through the doors of the barn. There's a shootout. He's shooting back. I really thought he was going to take a shot at this point. I was like, all right, he's going to get shot in the leg or something.
Well, I do like the fact that, and even though he didn't say anything, and this to me is good storytelling, he sees the pickup truck with that's Roman, my dog. He sees the pickup truck with a plow in the front. So that makes sense, because if you're watching this and you live in Arizona, California, Texas, places that don't get snow, that's a big plow, and that's something that is going to withstand bullets for sure. He comes smashing out of it. They're shooting at him. He goes right by the
guardhouse,
the guard gate, which we see they have a big 50 cal unchanged there.
So crazy.
But Paulie's not the one behind it. And then they tell him to go track him, and of course, we get to the truck breaks down. Of course, within a distance that they can get.
Well, at least he breaks through. That's the other thing. That plow helped smash through those gates of the compound, because those are big, heavy gates. But no rickety dink. So yeah, and he broke down at some point.
Not far.
Again, this is the part, and you brought this up when we watch this. This is the part, because we're trying to figure out the distance between the compound, the mansion area, and the main town. Because it breaks down at some point. He gets out. He calls Duffy. Says, "All right, I need
And
help."
he's just walking nonchalantly. You
Mhm.
would think that if he was that close to the compound, he would at least be hiding. He's just walking, and then all of a sudden he's
on the road.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're here! Like, what the hell did you expect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that part didn't make too much sense, but this was a fun moment because then he does start running through the woods. Right, we got these guys now on their ATVs. They're going out there shooting at him. He's shooting back. He kills one. He shoots the lights out. This is where he takes another mag out of his bum or somewhere. I don't know where he got this other mag. Think about it. We don't. He's not running around with a fanny pack or anything. Where is he keeping this extra magazine? But whatever. He swaps it out. He takes these guys out. At least another one, and then somewhere along the line, he put mud on his face. Right? He goes.
I guess they would take the shine off any sweat and glisten or anything like. It was just a weird. It was a weird Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator.
Oh yeah,
movie.
yeah. So
it would have been cooler if he would have been like, he was just like, man, I always wanted to do this. Like if he would have said something like referring back to like Predator, like I was loving Arnold do this, like,
or even one scene where, let's say, right when he pulls the clip from wherever, and he just takes a scoop of mud, and just like wipes it across his face, and then shoots out the headlights of the ATV. Like get ready now. Putting you in the dark.
The mud thing may have to do with where he ends up at.
Yeah, maybe. Well, where he was at.
Maybe they had to figure out how he was going to get.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah, and because once he's done doing this, again, this comes up with the distance, because now we see him walking right into town that's deserted.
Wait, we forget he kills 2 people and there's one left. And as the guys, I mean, this guy, he sneaks up on people. He's huge. But the last guy that he kills, he sees a winch. Now, you can't pull a winch out and it not make noise. But he wraps around the guy's, around his neck super quick, and then hits the, I don't know why there's a remote control for it, but there's a remote control. And, maybe there would be, because if you're pulling something out, I don't know. I feel like it would be on it. And he pulls it back. I thought for sure we were going to see the head pop off.
That would have been some scene right there.
Let's be honest, those winches are meant to pull ATVs out of mud or pull another one out. If that thing's wrapped around the neck, it's not.
That's nothing. It's just gonna.
That neck's right off. Yeah, that neck's not stopping. Maybe if you're Wolverine and it hits the adamantium, but other than that,
no, it's not happening. Yeah, and the fact that they stayed on that scene for a good amount of time. We're seeing it wrench and wrench and wrench, and we're like, okay, it's happening. It's gonna happen. And we hear a crack, and it's like, oh, that's what you were going. That was
you really get to see, like, this guy does not have. He doesn't really have emotions when it comes to this stuff. No. He has no.
He's
you're a bad
numb.
Guy.
He's numb to all of this. This is Reacher we're talking about. So he heads back into town. It's deserted. It looks like a ghost town. I got this Unforgiven vibe.
There's no cars anywhere. Nothing is on. Nothing is open until we see the laundromat.
The laundromat, which makes sense, right? Laundromats usually stay open late. People doing laundry. Hell, over in New York,
not if the town is 24 hours. Dead. There's no one. I mean, no one.
That is, it's weird. That is weird. Because then he comes in all muddied up, and he's like, and he looks over, and there's one lady there, and he's like, I need you to close early. And then he like, how do you feel about closing early? And he just holds up like a wad of money.
Yeah. An elderly Asian couple who who don't seem to speak very good English. I think that's what they were trying to get at. That he's just kind of
But if it's a sleepy town, they're probably also not expecting anything like this or going to even react. Maybe they don't even know how to react. Because if you're in a busy area, you
I don't-
get your share of bums or
Would
just
Would you know how to act?
no. If he walks in like that, yeah, I'd be like, oh man, what are you gonna do? I mean, you want to steal some quarters? I mean, what?
Yeah.
It's a laundromat, But then he gives the money, and then we have another scene of him with no shirt on. He's washing his clothes, and they
Yes.
made him some coffee. And he makes a comment. This is the best coffee he's had. The last one came out of a cat's bum, because that whole thing going on with what was it, Agnes? When they
Yeah.
were talking about the coffee beans and how
Except
the
he didn't
coffee.
say out of a bum.
I know he said something else,
He
but we're
said
trying to
where
keep
it
it.
came from.
Yeah, we're
But
trying
at
to
the
keep
same,
it clean.
but while this is happening, Paulie finds that he'd killed all these people. Paulie goes into town, but he's not smart enough to see the only place that has lights on to go there.
Yeah.
And he's just carrying a shotgun. He's just carrying a shotgun into this dead town.
Oh man, a lot of questions that there's no reason to ask because we're never going to get an answer of this town. So why even bother? We can't dwell on it. But we do know is that somehow Reacher finds his way to Duffy and Billy, so that way they get.
He calls Duffy, and she comes and picks him up.
Oh, she did pick him up. All right,
Yeah,
that was all.
He was waiting for Duffy to come pick him up because don't you remember when he gets there, they walk in and Billy says something, and she says, "Yeah, I found Reacher." I found Reacher naked with an elderly couple.
Oh yeah,
or geriatric couple.
That's right. Oh man. So that's when they exchange information. They find out all this stuff, trying to figure things out. And this is the stretch. This was a very a Hail Mary pass that for us, the audience, to figure out does this make sense? It's something about tracking the phone, and it was going to St. Rome, right? St. Rome, this town, and that there's so many locations there to hide. There's buildings, warehouses, basements, and all this stuff. And he's like, but then there's boats, and if there's boats, then there's a good chance there's a boat that's off the coast area there, that's off the beach or whatever. And this is where he links it up to, what's his name, Harley, right? Links up to Harley. I don't recall that whole thing of Harley saying he had a boat off.
It must have been one of those things we missed because it was a filler. He must have been telling him, "Yeah, I live on a boat," or that so it's like he figures out that's what it is. It's Harley, which again, kind of weird, but
and that's what I'm saying.
They had to get him on the boat. They had to get to this boat.
It was such a stretch because it doesn't really directly connect to everything that we've been seeing. So for this to be the key moment, this is it. This is where the conflict's going to happen. It's like, man, we didn't see that coming. Who would have saw this coming? Because this doesn't even make much sense in the story. If anything, I would say let's go back to Bizzare Bazar, somewhere around there, maybe in the basement. Because they would think of that. They were like, oh, we're going to get all our soldiers. The DA agents will call everybody. Say for what? They probably moved everything already because now they know that you guys are onto them. But here we go. So they get
we're gonna go to Quinn because that happens before the whole boat incident. Quinn is there with Beck, basically berating him, tells him to go get Richard.
Yeah, he shows up. Quinn shows up at the mansion.
Yeah.
After the fact,
they get Richard, and he says he's gonna play Russian roulette, but this time with a real bullet. But clearly, I guess this is how he got him to cut off his ear last time. And let's just say that Quinn basically says that he'll have Paulie do some really horrendous things to Richard in front of his dad if he doesn't play Russian roulette.
Now, did you think, and I'm sure listeners, viewers can comment on this if you felt this way. I thought he was going to play, Russian roulette, but tell Richard to point the gun at his dad. That's what I would say. Yeah,
that's what I thought he was going to do.
Because it's too easy. It was like, oh, yeah, now put the gun to your head. No, I thought because it made more sense. Like, no, not your head. Point it at your dad.
But he needs his dad. He needs his dad right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you take out the son, the dad really has nothing else to live for. So then what's the point? If either way, whoever dies in this is not going to be good. It's not going to be helpful for Quinn.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, he does the Russian roulette. He puts one bullet in, he twirls it, and it's like, all right, put it to your head, blah blah blah. So he pulls the trigger. Lucky, no bullet. Then he says, pull it again. Beck is just bawling on the other side of the table, like, oh, stop this, stop this. He says, pull it again. He pulls it again. Hey, 3 shots. He pulls it 3 times and no bullet.
Don't play this, please.
Don't try this at home, people.
Please don't ever play Russian roulette. If your kids watching, it's not something fun,
and this is TV land. In real life, it wouldn't be that lucky. It was like, all right, second, it's over, game over. But at this point, again, it's up to Beck. Up to Quinn to stop, because then he's like, all right, and then he just starts talking to Beck again. What was the point? What are you getting? Because it's not like
Beck says he goes, I'll do anything, and he says, because you remember he was cutting, talking about the serrated knife, and how just it rips right through a tomato. Shocker, a knife can go through a tomato
and a can. I remember those infomercials. Remember those?
I was just about to say, people our age will remember the Ginsu knife commercials. They're cutting through cans.
Mm-hmm.
And even as a kid, I remember going like, why do you need to cut through a can?
If you don't have a can opener. That was the only thing I could do. You don't have a can opener, but you got this sharp knife. And I'm like, I could do this. And just, and then.
Yeah, so he basically says, I want a matching set, and puts the knife down. And that's the last that we see of that.
See, like, again, I get doing this.
We're left to find out what happens next episode with that. But now we go back to the marina, or I don't even know if it's a marina. It's a dock.
It's a dock.
And of course, there they are, and they're like, there's a boat out there. And
only one boat out of all the boats. And he was like, there's one boat. So
we're not talking about, it's not winter time, all right? It's clearly fairly nice out. And, they're looking, and they look behind, and there just happen to be wetsuits, and Reacher says, I think we need to go for a swim.
And I have problems with this because, as we know before, he doesn't need a wetsuit. He likes to swim in his boxers. So it's like, I'm surprised he even made that comment. It's like, how about you use a wetsuit? Because I know that's not going to fit me because I'm a monster of a man.
And so he does address that.
Yeah. Towards the end, he's like, it's too tight. Then why'd you even bother putting it on? And don't say because it was at night and the water's really cold. You did that big swim at night twice. Okay, come on now.
So they swim to the boat. It doesn't matter how far the boat is because we know, again, time, distance does not matter in this TV show. This is true. Like they get on the boat. This is truly the part where they're like, all right. There's a lot of men watching this. There's a lot of Reacher's muscles, which again, as a guy who spent many, many, many years in the gym, I do appreciate. But we got to show a hot woman in a tight suit, and I believe that's what the whole purpose of this was, to get Duffy, in this, in this.
Yeah, and get her. And I get it. But that's what I'm saying. Reacher didn't need it because we've seen him do it without. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense for her to do this. But this is also her moment to flex her muscles because she does muscle damage.
I'm sorry, this actress is really just getting on my nerves. Anytime that they overdo, it's usually with an actress where they overdo it because they have to show you that she's just as tough as a man. That's when I said, like, okay, enough. Or the whining about Teresa. I'm just over the whining about Teresa, okay? We have seen so many people get offed already, including Elliot. Like, I'm just tired of hearing about Teresa.
So I think I thought about that too. I was like, why this? But I think what they're trying to convey is that she is so bent up with this frustration and anger that she's just unloading on Harley here. She's just taking down. Still not getting anywhere, though. That was the thing.
Of course, he just happens to show up. When they're on it. He shows up in a dinghy, gets on, he sees the water, and it probably wouldn't have, and knows that there must be something wrong. They don't have guns because they swim out there in wetsuits. Now, if this was Torpedo from G.I. Joe, he would have his his spear gun, not a harpoon gun, because I got yelled at. They are not harpoon guns; they are spear guns. See, these are the things you learn when you
Oh
do
boy.
toy tubing reviews. That people will yell at you. That's not a harpoon gun; it's a
You have to
spear
be
gun. And you
accurate with the
go,
names, Lawrence. You got to know your weapons. That's it.
again, I review toys, not the accuracy of a weapon to a toy weapon to the actual weapon. But we see Harley come in. He's got his gun out, and of course, just Duffy goes right at her. Susan's right at beating him up, and Reacher just watches. Now, I have a problem with this because I don't care if she
Oh,
could beat
no,
him up or
he
not.
says the same comment. He's like, I'm scared of her too. Don't look
Yeah,
at me, right? It's like,
but again, like this, if you and I are on a boat, all right, and some scrawny guy shows up, he may have a gun or whatever, and I know you can beat his ass. I'm not gonna. This is life and death. I'm gonna be jumping in there because I want to get off this boat also. But that doesn't fit the narrative because you got to show how tough she is. Um, so of course, during the action, what happens? Oh, it just happens to catch on fire because why not?
was it it was like the lantern or something that was on the boat tipped over. It hit some stuff. It was on fire. And then yeah, when she's beating on him, he's like, "Oh, we gotta get off. It's gonna burn. This whole thing's gonna blow." And Reacher walks over and like, "Well, then you better start talking." And he's trying to get information from him.
When she's yelling, he's saying, "I'm not going to say anything." Ah ha ha. He's kind of laughing at her, and that's when Reacher takes that pick or whatever and just puts it through his foot, which just puts him down. He
It
can't
nails
go.
him to the deck of the boat. That pins him in. That's it. Because what they're
Yeah.
really trying to get at is they want to know where Teresa is. Because come on,
Yes.
she was here, and he confirms it. He was like, "Yeah, I had her here." But then when everything, started messing up back at the warehouse, and he said Quinn was getting paranoid, so he had her moved, and he doesn't know. And Reacher says, "You know what? You're right. He wouldn't tell someone like you what's
Yep.
going on with the plans." So then
And
this, yeah,
yeah, the boat's just starting to like.
it's catching fire. The fire's
Yeah, it's
getting
just
larger
getting
behind them. The
bigger and
whole thing.
bigger.
I mean, it's gonna blow. It's gonna blow any moment. And so she was like, "You gotta get off. We gotta get off." And then Reacher was like, looks over at Duffy. He's like, "Hey, it's your call. What do you want to do?" And he's like, I think the captain should go down with his ship." That could have been the name of this episode. Captain goes down with his ship. It could have been the name, but
I
they
do
went
like
with
Smoke on the Water.
yeah, and it makes sense now because they get off. They use Harley's little dinghy there to get off, and
Yep.
as they're pulling away, kaboom! The whole thing goes up.
And I gotta say, Smoke, I have a soft spot, even though it's not really the type of music I play or I listen to. But Smoke on the Water was used in, if I remember correctly, an H Street video. I want to say for Ocean Howl skating. It was one of the later ones, like next H Street. Sorry, this is my ADHD just going off topic, but I hear that song and I can remember that video. But anyway,
Shoot, with me, I think Howard Stern. He loves Deep Purple, and
oh really?
he was always, and whenever he gets a chance to that, and the Ramones, those are his two, and he was always talking about it. And he used to listen to a lot of Stern, and it was always like, oh,
I can definitely see the Ramones in his look and everything.
Oh, that was definitely a big part of his look.
Yeah.
Definitely a big part, big influence. But yeah. So then they get back to the mainland, and again, little comic relief. He starts talking about how tight the outfit is. He's taking his clothes off. He's like, no peeking,
Yeah.
It's
We get to see his ass. Duffy still has her underwear on, which I feel like, at least her panties. I feel like she would have had to take those off too, right? It's a wetsuit. Yeah, it's a wetsuit, so it's gonna get wet. You're not gonna wear that, I'm assuming. Anyway, and then this is where he's making jokes.
Yeah, this is the first rare time. Yeah,
this is where he's making jokes about not taking peeks, and she says something, and he's like, "That's a lot of side eye," which just kind of made me laugh. And this is where she kind of goes off on him, saying that, right now our lead is burning, and we don't have an insight anymore because they know who you are. And he said, "Well, not exactly. We have another one," and it ends saying, "What now?"
It was with Reacher, and we have to go to LA.
And you said,
Right.
"What's in LA?" And I said, "I have no idea."
Yeah, like that's the thing. We know
I
Richard's not in LA. Richard's back at the compound,
a
so
lot of a lot of skateboarders in LA.
there's a lot of there's Hollywood, other
The
shows.
LA
Maybe
Kings.
there's more
Um,
sets that they can blow up,
yeah,
for
the
the show. So,
the Raiders are not in LA anymore. I can tell you that much.
yeah, the Raiders are not there. No, they moved.
um,
But the other funny moment is when she's freaking out about all this stuff. It's like, oh, does this happen to you all the
oh
time?
yes,
And he's like, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like, how do you deal with it? It's like, I don't get it. Yeah, and he's like, well, it's just part of things that happen, but he's like, shoot, that's when she was like, oh,
but
we have no assets, we have nothing now, we lost it all. This was a bust. And he was like, no, we got Richard. We still have someone on the inside.
but again, he is trained to do something different
Yeah.
than be law enforcement. That's what some of these special forces guys that they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do. So if you're talking to a Navy SEAL, like they see different things than
Oh, there, yeah.
your regular police officer, ATF agent, FBI agent, whatever. If anyone's wondering what's going on, my dog is starting to whimper, so I'm trying to keep him quiet till the show is over because we can't pause it. So that's
Yeah, we might get this through, but it's all right. We're almost at the end. We're almost there. But yeah, I like this episode. I like this. Again, I will go with the 4.5 out of 5 because one, it's progressing the story. It's not
yes.
filler. We're getting answers. Thankfully, I love getting answers in show. A lot of action in this one. Every episode seems to keep cranking up the action meter. Doop, doop, doop. Now we
And
got
in a
explosions and
good
stuff.
way,
Yeah.
not just action for action's sake, because I don't like TV shows or movies where they feel they have to do something. Give me a reason on why it's happening. You know, um, anytime you fill something in just to fill a narrative, but there's no reason for it, then the reason, then you ask, why would you do that? And I feel like they're doing that here. And there's only what I think we talked about it was uh, the part with Beck, kind of getting mad about Reacher, thinking that he acts like his dad. We were like, I didn't need that part.
Yeah, that wasn't needed. It wasn't needed at all. So when it comes to LA, though, just to throw my thought, I think maybe it's a team member, maybe somebody from 110. Maybe he needs backup or help. But then I'm thinking, well, why not go with Frances? She's already involved, but she's in Chicago.
I
So
have a feeling she's going to get involved because they've shown her too much. I'm always looking at the IMDb. We always have it up so we can look at the
mhm.
actors and their names. She's been, center stage right there on IMDb. So I have a feeling that she's going to show up no matter what. It
See,
only makes sense. She's having her own show, her own
yeah,
spin.
yeah. But here's the
But
thing.
I have no idea what's in LA.
Hey,
I don't.
leave your thoughts and comments below. Also, maybe we missed something? Is the big boss the Russian mob guy? Did they mention that he was in LA? No, right? They never mentioned that the big boss is
No,
out. No.
no.
All right. So I
But
don't know. I
yeah.
have no
So
idea.
again, if maybe you guys just recently watched season 1 and 2, maybe there's something in LA that or maybe we missed something. Again, we're just a couple of yahoos
Yeah.
watching this before. We're not watching it 3-4 times and then coming and doing this. So please, if you know what it is, leave a comment, and also don't forget, please hit a like. Leave a like. Just hit the like button. That's what it is. Hit the
Press
like
all
button.
the buttons. Press all the buttons. You know how to do it. You click the button. Press the button. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in and following and subbing. It's all been great. We've been having fun covering this show. This is a fun show. Reacher is great. Tell your friends, your family, your dog, everybody. We all love Reacher. And we will be back for episode 7 next week. So thanks again and later.
Take care.